The main changes between the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the iPhone 15 Pro Max are as follows. Even if you don't follow the smartphone trends and the mobile industry, you could be fully aware that Apple organizes its most major hardware events in September every year. We think that Apple will show off the iPhone 17 generation this September, with the iPhone 17 Pro Max being the most sophisticated model. The iPhone 17 Pro Max will be embracing some vital but small enhancements. For instance, the front and back cameras are becoming better, and the phone will run quicker owing to a new and better CPU, a bigger battery, and a design language that could make some people angry. How would all this compare to the iPhone 15 Pro Max is what we are about to find out. One of the most visible alterations that may befall the iPhone 17 Pro Max, as per the bulk of the leaks, is a slightly contentious design modification at the back. Some phones are getting away with the big camera islands, but the iPhone 17 Pro Max is going the other way and adding a big camera strip that will go almost all the way across the phone. This will undoubtedly make it seem like Google's Pixel phones. The iPhone 17 Pro Max should be a little thicker than the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which has a body that is 8.25mm thick. Other than that, the two phones should be fairly comparable in size and how they feel in your hand. We only hope that the bigger camera island doesn't make the phone too hefty on top. Aside from that, the iPhone 17 Pro Max will be quite identical to the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and by extension, the iPhone 15 Pro Max. We will receive the same flat design language with a dynamic island notch up front, although potentially smaller, a programmable action button, a handy camera control button, and a USB-C connector at the bottom. The iPhone 15 Pro Max, on the other hand, was the model that many of its predecessors were based on in more than one manner. It was the first titanium iPhone, the first to adopt a USB-C connector at the bottom, and also the first iPhone to shed the famous mute switch for a programmable action button. While we anticipate the iPhone 17 Pro Max to sport a titanium frame, a set of speculations indicates that Apple could be studying the notion of reverting back to aluminum once again. The probable reasons why Apple may do so is to drive prices down and depend less and less on China, which is the world leader in titanium manufacturing. With the US-Chinese trade tensions at their most acute, one may discern the logic in such prospective move. 1. Display difference. Apple seldom updates too many things at once, and this is evident best in the screen portion. We anticipate the iPhone 17 Pro Max to keep the iPhone 16 Pro Max's 6.9-inch Liquid Retina XDR display with promotion that supports up to 120Hz refresh rate. Apple may modify things a little with a somewhat smaller dynamic island notch up front, which would consume even less screen real estate. Moreover, Apple might get Samsung's M14 with OLED panel for the iPhone 17 Pro Max, which would enhance both the efficiency of the screen and its peak brightness, which would max out at roughly 3000 nits of peak brightness, up from 2000 nits. Well, this one comes with a little smaller 6.7-inch Liquid Retina XDR OLED display with somewhat larger bezels and peak brightness of 2000 nits. Its dynamic island is very ordinary and equally as huge as the ones on the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. 2. Performance and software. It presumably will come as no surprise that the iPhone 17 Pro Max will be powered by the next mobile Apple processor in line, the Apple A19 Pro. We presume that this one will be once again constructed on TSMC 3nm manufacturing node, although other reports indicate it could possibly be based on a denser and more sophisticated 2nm manufacturing node. The basis for this conjecture is supposedly TSMC running ahead of schedule with its facilities preparation to usher in the more complex process. Still, whether it's 3nm or a 2nm processor, the A19 Pro will undoubtedly be an upgrade over the A17 Pro that clicks and ticks within the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The latter was the first 3nm chipset utilized on an iPhone, and actually the first 3nm processor on a mobile device. While we anticipate gains in performance and economy, they may not be that big between the previous and the forthcoming iPhone generations. That's primarily because the iPhone 15 Pro Max is still a highly powerful and able handset. The iPhone 17 Pro Max will contain 12 gigs of RAM for future-proofness sake, while the iPhone 15 Pro Max sported 8 gigs of RAM. The latter makes it compatible with Apple Intelligence, and the iPhone 17 Pro Max will be too. The challenge here is on the software side, since Apple's AI suite suffered quite a tumultuous introduction and is now in a raw, somewhat incomplete form. First, the major news: a full outfit makeover dubbed Liquid Glass. For the genuinely daring, there's a clear look option that renders everything translucent, with a design language that harks back to Windows Vista. Yep, this reference just disclosed that the author of this post now has lots of gray hair. Thankfully, many upgrades simplified the experience, excellent for the rest of us. The camera app is being simplified, concealing most features by default. Apple is rearranging the Photos app after it chose to transform it into absolute mayhem with the last iOS version. The most thrilling breakthroughs, however, are the ones that promise peace. A call screening tool will finally be used to counter telemarketers. Pixel users are giggling somewhere in the background, enjoying this function for years. Live Translate is also coming to calls, which might be amazing, or it may lead to me unintentionally misinterpreting a $50 bill for a $500 one. Naturally, there's a boatload of additional nuggets. Polls are coming to group chats, threatening to put genuine order on the lovely chaos of a dozen people attempting to agree on a bar. All in all, it's a list of totally fair modifications, to be honest. 3. Camera gradual progression in action. The iPhone 17 Pro Max will include a triple camera system, like most of its predecessors. The 48 megapixels main and ultra-wide cameras will be joined by a new 48 megapixels 5x periscope camera. The latter will likely allow for lossless in-sensor cropping and more powerful hybrid zoom. We'd also see a new 24 megapixels FaceTime camera, which would finally improve the 12 megapixels FaceTime camera that has existed for years at the front of iPhones. The iPhone 15 Pro Max was the second iPhone to contain a 48 megapixels wide camera and a periscope, while the ultra-wide and the long zoom lens were 12 megapixels ones. This one did not have a camera control button, but we don't really believe it's a vital feature. Other reports here indicate that we could see 8K video recording on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, when most prior iPhones maxed out at 4K with 60 FPS. Have in mind that this functionality could stay confined to the Pro variants. 4. Battery life and charging. Apple's iPhones are on an improving trend when it comes to battery capacity and longevity. For example, this year's iPhone 16 Pro Max included a massive 4,685 mAh battery, the largest one ever placed on an iPhone. The iPhone 15 Pro Max, on the other hand, has a smaller 4,422 mAh battery. Rumors indicate we may see an even bigger one on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, perhaps in the region between 4,700 mAh and 5,000 mAh, and the implied increase in thickness undoubtedly lends truth to that. At the present, charging rates on the iPhone 17 Pro Max are not likely to earn an upgrade. 27-watt wired charging, up to 40 watt in specific cases, and 25-watt MagSafe 2.0. In contrast, the iPhone 15 Pro Max supports a significantly slower 25-watt wired and 15-watt wireless MagSafe charging. A new feature on the future generation could be reverse wireless charging, which would undoubtedly enable you fill up your AirPods or Apple Watch in emergencies. Although early, we appear to know or at least be able to identify a big swath of the iPhone 17 Pro Max features. Here's how they will compare versus the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Although the iPhone 15 Pro Max will be 2 years old by the time the iPhone 17 Pro Max comes, we don't really feel like it will be severely outmoded. It's still a perfectly acceptable handset that doesn't truly lack any important capabilities that newer iPhones possess. Although it's not official yet, we honestly don't understand the idea that iPhone 15 Pro Max customers should feel obligated to switch to the newer model. On the other hand, if you're using an iPhone 15 Pro Max and feel that the experience is not as good as it was, then the iPhone 17 Pro Max will certainly offer decent changes to both performance and battery life, as well as perhaps give far better zoom picture quality. Apple has ripped the covers off iOS 26, unveiling the software at its Worldwide Developers Conference 2025 keynote. This software will almost probably start with the iPhone 17 Pro when the phone comes, and it brings a new liquid glass design that draws its inspirations from Apple's Vision OS software. In addition to the new appearance, there are the normal round of upgrades to existing applications, along with the launch of a new Games app that gathers all your mobile gaming activities in one location. Apple Intelligence features aren't generating the amount of excitement they had a year ago, but Apple is adding to the range of AI capabilities on its phones. You'll receive live translation capabilities for phone conversations, FaceTime sessions, and text messaging, and Apple is introducing call screen functions as well. Visual intelligence will soon be able to search up information that's taken on your iPhone screen too. If the early iPhone 17 Pro rumors pan out, it doesn't seem like Apple is going to cease lavishing attention on its Pro versions. Potential camera enhancements and a fresh design lead the changes we've heard about so far, and more potential improvements might surface in the months between now and the beginning of the new Apple phones. All eyes figure to be on the iPhone 17 Pro's pricing and what influence tariffs may have on the cost of upgrading your phone in the autumn. Unfortunately, that image doesn't appear like it's going to grow clearer anytime soon. So, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more tech news and updates.